Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 229 of Album of the Day. And after reviewing a couple of 2019 records, I'm going to turn back the clock a little bit and review another album from 2018 for this review. This is the latest album from an American noise rock outfit that has been putting out some music for a little while, but I had never really heard of them until this year with their latest record. And this is actually a comeback record. They've had 8 years of studio album silence, but they put out a variety of different noise rock records, including Hell songs and others. I'm talking about the band known as Daughters, and I'm here to review their long overdue new record, which was released on October 26th, 2018. And the album is called You Won't Get What You Want. And as you can see, I have the vinyl here. I bought this at Soundgarden. And I can say, not only is this one of my favorite records of the year, but this is also one of my favorite album covers of the year. I love the, it's kind of like a bunch of fog that creates this kind of face. And there's the back. And there's 10 songs on this record, and it's over 48 minutes long. And released on independent label IPCAC Recordings. I don't really know how to say that. And here's the gatefold. The lyrics are not on the gatefold, though. They're in the little insert. But it's got the liner notes and the track list. There's the lyric sheet. And it's a double LP. There's London Fog vinyl color to this, which I love. Side A and side B. And there's side C and side D. Yeah, that's the vinyl packaging for You Won't Get What You Want, the new album by Daughters. Now, I never really listened to Daughters before this record. I mean, I may have heard the name before, but I think this was a pretty good place to kind of start with our music, even though it's their latest album. This album, I definitely, initially didn't really know what to expect. But little did I know that this Daughters record would be, in my opinion, the most chilling and frightening noise rock album of 2018, and actually probably the scariest album I've heard in all of 2018. And yet, I love it for that reason. Like, it definitely has fantastic energy, great production, some very thoughtful songwriting that I think only adds to the horror of this record. Like, this is the kind of record that kind of gives you the kind of feeling you would while, watching some movie, like maybe like a classic horror film like The Blair Witch Project, or even something like A Clockwork Orange, where it's very unsettling and not necessarily the most fun to listen to, but you can't stay away from it. The opening track, City Song, opens up with this really tense, kind of, I think, bass synth kind of intro, and then, all of a sudden, these really like intense drums come in, just crash in, making your hair stand up. And then once the vocal comes in, it's kind of a, like bassy, Nick Cave-esque kind of baritone, which sounds really cool over the kind of tense instrumentation. And you may think, it's all gonna end normal, but once, there's some kind of background vocal shrieks and whatnot, you definitely know that, they're gonna send you into noise rock purgatory for sure. Which is why the outro of this song is really intense and features some kind of squealing guitar noises and the vocalist just like falling apart to the point where he may as well be shredding his vocal cords. And I absolutely love it. Love it. Like, I listened to this. I kind of discovered this album also because Anthony Fantano, aka The Needle Drop, gave this record a 10 out of 10. The second 10 out of 10 he's given an album in 2018. And this did end up being his number 1 of the year as well. And this is the kind of album where I listen to it, I'm like, yeah, no wonder the Melon digs this. It's this, and City Song is definitely a very promising opener for this record. And then we get into one of the more accessible tracks on the record, Long Road, No Turns, that is no less powerful with some killer riffs, fantastic drumming that definitely has fantastic drumming. Like, I think the drumming throughout on this record is very impressive, and it sounds as though it was recorded in some sort of huge, like, kind of like abandoned warehouse almost. And the vocalist totally nails it on this track too, and really sells the song well with some kind of dark lyrics. Like the lyric of "It may please your heart to see some shackled wrists and throat, naked as the day they were born." Like, that chorus is just very haunting lyrically. Haunting lyrically, and it definitely deserved to be one of the lead singles of this record, because it is very intense and very terrifying, but it also definitely is incredibly catchy as well. And then we have the 7-minute epic Satan in the Way, which features some kind of ominous drone noises that syncopate really well with the drums. A really cool bass line on there. That's got plenty of fuzz to it. And it all blends really well with ASF Marshall's kind of manic, not really sung, but more kind of shouted vocal. I mean, the only points he really sings here are like on maybe the quieter tracks on here, but for most of this he's got that punk rock sort of shout going on. Which I think is perfect with these very dark and unsettling lyrics. Like the opening line, "That bastard had a head like a matchstick, a face like he'd been sucking concrete through a straw. Some faces not even a mother can love, says the spitter in broken glass from above." Like, just reciting it, it sounds like this really haunting poem. But this song is also really gorgeous too, to the point where that hypnotic guitar melody comes in. I am pulled in right away. It definitely sounds like something you'd hear in some kind of dark horror film, but yet it definitely has some beauty to it as well. And I do really like its kind of chaotic outro as well. I mean, it goes on for 7 minutes, but I am not bored for 1 minute of it. But then we get into two really intense, shorter tracks on here. The Flammable Man, the shortest track on here at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and it is a hell ride throughout. Right throughout. I mean, I know this is technically an industrial and noise rock record, but the drumming is just so fast on this track that it may as well be heavy metal they're playing here. And has just a few lyrics, but it definitely does leave quite an impression, especially with the lyric at the end of, is something burning here, or is it me? And in the middle of the song, there's like this really like kind of crazy midsection where it's basically everything just kind of falling apart instrumentally, like a falling, like a crumbling building or something like that. And then after that, we get the Lord song, which is once again a track that is very unsettling yet accessible at the same time. I love the vocal performance on this track. In our trips, a heavy heart. Like the singer on here is just like he's basically just shouting his brains out. It's out with a significant amount of terror that definitely pulls me in right away. Over the kind of noisy guitars, which one of the things I find really unique about this record is how what may sound like a harp or something like that is actually guitar played through some weird pedal or making some very kind of unusual noises that I never really heard in any other noise rock record here. And then when the guitars wail, it sounds like there could be synthesizer on there, but there's actually guitar. So some of the sounds I'm hearing on this record that may sound electronic, some of it could be keyboards, but I think majority of it could actually be guitar, sounding like a keyboard. The next track is another one of my favorite tracks on here, Less Sex, which it's so funny that's the name of the song, because this is by far the sexiest, groove-wise track on the entire record. It's definitely got a little bit of no-wave feel to it. It's got a really cool kind of smooth-going beat and kind of liquidy bass line that goes over another Nick Cave-inspired kind of vocal performance, which the lyrics are definitely pretty vague, but I think the title, Less Sex, could be pretty ironic, because I think, like the narrator of the song could be referring to having sex with, like, darkness, some sort of, like, kind of unsettling kind of emotion that has kind of come over him in his sleep. And that moment when the bass line and beat blend in with some really cool kind of trap kit like drumming and some some howling guitars. It is definitely really cool, especially when it blends together into this very kind of cinematic it's kind of cinematic and gorgeous finish. And the vocal performance and the kind of spooky vocal performance, I think, really fits this vibe really well. I gave it complete control, let a long way down. I mean, I love baritone vocals. Let me just say that. The next song is called Daughter, which not only is kind of inspired by the name of this band, but it also really does play a pretty significant role in this record by sort of telling you this story that, you may not know what's going on at first, but then you kind of realize in the end that, it's really a song about death, and kind of how anticipation of it is a lot more, like, it is a lot scarier than the actual death. But there's some really clever poeticisms in here. I just thought I'd let you know, there's war in an old set of bones. When they shake, you can feel the earth moan. There's a war. There's a war, and I do really like how the song kind of sounds like a warped, sort of weirder version of, some music out of a Western film or something like that. Like, the guitar sounds very much like desert rock a little bit. And so does the drumming. And even, like, that section where there's the more melodic guitar part, there's still it definitely does still sound like something you could listen to out in the desert, which I really like. And I love the dynamic vocal performance on here, which I think is a pretty big selling point throughout this record too. And then we get into the punky, the intense, and the wild, The Reason They Hate Me. Kick-ass track right here. Definitely another good choice for a single here. Like, this is the kind of song that I just want to, play it out loud and kind of like raise my hand in the air, like I'm at a punk show or something like that. Like, this is definitely some of the best energy on the entire record. It is from the song. And to listen to him just shout, "Don't tell me how to do my job, why you carry on like a son of a bitch." Like, it's definitely very satisfying right there. And I think if you listen to the lyrics, there could be a little political overtone to this song a little bit, because it's definitely very rebellious and ballsy, although it's even more so in the way it sounds, especially in that really killer wailing guitar solo in the middle. Hard solo in the middle. And then after that we get the second longest song on the record, Ocean Song, which is the longest track on the record at 7.5 minutes. It definitely tells this very, like, haunting, very unsettling kind of story. Even though I would say this track is probably my least favorite on the record, this is the one track where I think kind of, the intensity and, the kind of eagerness to, like, really haunt the listener is maybe taken a little overboard on this track. Though I love the lyrical ideas on here of this guy who, everything looks normal, but then he's sort of, he's sort of on this, like, bad acid trip, where he's kind of, nothing looks the same to him anymore, and he's kind of in a moment where he just has to run for his life, or else, he's gonna die, or something like that. Stuff like that. I mean, I didn't even realize how, like, terrifying this track would be until I bought the album and had the ability to, had the opportunity to read the lyrics as I listened. But the kind of, some of the guitar noises I think are kind of maybe a little over dramatic. Though I do love that climactic closing section with the howling, with that kind of howling guitar or keyboard, or I'm not really sure what's going on. Even though I also will say another shortcoming about this track is that it does drag on for maybe a little too long. But then after that is one of my favorite tracks on the album, Guest House. Guest House, which again has some great energy on it. and fantastic drumming and shouted vocals. And this time it tells a story about someone who kind of, got trapped in, this house that, apparently it isn't the safest house to be in. And he's sort of wondering who left the lock on the door, and he's sort of like pleading to whoever left him in there to just, let him in and, get him out of this, darkness that he's pretty much been dragged into. So again, definitely something that sounds like a killer horror film script for sure. Film script, which does make sense over the instrumentation, which is definitely very wild and noisy, but it's also like really beautiful as well. Like, the one moment of the song that I think is absolutely rewarding is when that kind of horror film inspired synth line comes in, which it sounds kind of like a pipe organ or something like that that you'd hear in like a Vincent Price movie, but played with a synthesizer and done very beautifully. And it's perfect. It's kind of a melancholy finish to the song, instrumental finish to the song. So yeah, I definitely didn't expect that this album would be this good or like leave as much of an impression on me as it did. But I definitely cannot thank the Needle Drop enough for kind of being part of the reason why I was kind of inspired to listen to this record. It definitely still stands on my top 10 list for 2018, like it did in that one video. And as can tell by my score for this album, I'm feeling a strong 9 out of 10 on this new Daughters record. You won't get what you want. Definitely check out this record, like whether you're a fan of this band or if you're just now discovering their music. Just warning you, you may want to leave a light on or something like that while you listen to this, because it definitely will. It's definitely going to haunt you for sure, and you'll probably give some people nightmares because it's like that good and that chilling. So that's my review for You Won't Get What You Want, the new album by Daughters, and I'll see you for episode 230.